Renegade Naturalist, Wildlife in Wakefield, on Twitter, Instagram, and now YouTube. This is my little tribute to Bill Oddie, who we lost last Saturday, the 25th of July, at age 85. He was an OBE, he was an author, he was a musician, he was a writer, he was an environmentalist, he was a birder, he was an educator when it comes to wildlife, the natural world, and birding. And the reason that I got into birding myself, I do remember the goodies. I was born in the mid-70s, so they were at the peak in the mid-70s towards early 80s. And then I remember Bill Oddie doing voiceovers with Graham Gardner, Banana Man, in 1983. And then obviously when it came about that Bill Oddie was into birding, before he actually got shows in the 90s and in the 2000s, birding programs, wildlife programs, he'd turn up on shows talking about birding and his love for it, so yeah, that sort of opened the door for me for birding. I was lucky to live in a village which was surrounded by fields and lagoons and canal walks, so I got out there and I enjoyed it, and I got into it as a young man, as a child, into my teens. And it's all down to Bill Oddie, really. I mean, Bill Oddie is the reason that I got into birding. As I've said, I've got many of his books, from Spring Watch to books he released up that way. Birding books, signed copy of Gripping Yarns, Bill Oddie's Birds, Bill Oddie's Little Blab Book, Bill Oddie's Introduction to Birding, and of course the Unplugged, which I got signed at the 2015 Bird Fair, which, if any of you have been following me on Instagram and Twitter, these last few weeks I've been posting pictures from the 2015 Bird Fair. And although it wasn't the first time I met Bill Oddie, it was the first time I actually had a moment with him, told him what he meant to me, and just thanked him for sort of opening the door to me getting into birding. I never felt that connection, and I still don't feel that connection with people like Chris Packham. No disrespect to Chris Packham, but it's not as warm, as fuzzy and comfortable as what Bill Oddie always was. It was always fun, always, a lot of time unscripted. It just felt real, did Bill Oddie, but also knowledgeable with information he was giving you. And Chris Packham's knowledgeable, don't get me wrong. It's not bashing Chris Packham, but I never felt that connection with him. Maybe because I'm older. I do remember him from Real Well Show and stuff. But, the connection with Bill Oddie, especially because even though I only got the photograph with him in 2015, I used to attend Bird Fair probably for about 5 years straight before then. And I used to see him there every year. And he'd be walking up and down the aisles, in the marquees, just like everybody else, looking at books, looking at photographs, talking to people that were holding stands, talking to people like Chris Packham and, Simon King, and you'd just see him with these people. But it was approachable, it just were like, no airs and graces sort of thing. He was just like just like a normal person. It didn't really come across like I'm a celebrity, you know. It was just like everybody else with a love for birding. So, on the times that I did see him at bird fair before I got the book signed and had my photograph with him, this photograph here, had a couple of different shots taken. I used to say hello to him. I didn't trouble him too much because he was just looking at stands. I'd go see his talks in the marquee or his quiz shows that he used to host, his fun quiz shows with other attendees of the bird fair. I think 2015 he did just a linnet with some of the attendees from the bird fair, and just loved it. Just being that close to him, being in the same airspace of him as him. And I met Simon King there. I spoke to Simon King several years. Every year we used to go to bird fair. He was again another guy, approachable, friendly. I even met Johnny Kingdom, if you remember that guy. Martin Hughes Games, and you'll have seen these pictures, not Johnny Kingdom, but Martin Hughes Games, Simon King, and Bill Oddie on my Instagram and Twitter recently. And it all seems like really weird that these last few weeks I have thought about Bill Oddie quite a lot. And then to find the news on on Monday, about Bill Oddie just seemed really crazy. I have been watching his How to Watch Wildlife DVDs recently. I've been reading his books. I've been posting about him. And it just seems a bit bizarre that I've been doing that recently and then the news broke about Bill Oddie's passing. But I just wanted to come on here just to sort of say what he meant to me. And that day that I did meet him, I told him how much he meant to me and thanked him. And, it's going to be a loss for the natural world. I used to watch Spring Watch, how to watch wildlife, the birding with Bill Oddie in the USA, all that kind of stuff. I remember them all. I used to watch them all. I used to record them all on VHS tapes, as it was then. And the tapes I don't have now. I said the only thing I do have is the How to Watch Wildlife DVD set, and I've been watching that recently, and I watch it quite often. But yeah, this year for me as well, sort of getting into birding again. It's been that connection again, I think. And the other thing with Bill Oddie, especially this book, reading that when it came out, I must have read it 4 times, this book. And I think I feel more connected to him because of similar experiences. He was diagnosed with bipolar. I'm bipolar. A lot of what he talks about, especially in that chapter 4, brain stops play, I can relate to a lot of that he's saying. I've written books, I've had poetry books published. I've been depressed, I've been hyper. All the things that Bill Oddie talked about, touched about, I can relate to because I've been there. And then again, this year, getting back onto the birding, part of it was because of mental health, and it's good for your mental health, and it is. When I'm out birding, I'm just thinking about the birds, listening to the birds. I'm not thinking about anything else. I don't have any worries. I don't, feel troubled. I'm just enjoying and being in the moment. And that's what birding is to me. Being in the moment, and Bill Oddie's going to be missed. And I'll always have that connection to him. He just felt like a normal person. And as I said, the bipolar thing, his background about his mother being manic depressive, losing his sister before they were born. I've been in that position. I come through a foster home. My mum, my birth mother, was manic depressive. She couldn't look after children either. I also lost sisters before me, which is why I was taken into care. And these little things, just sort of hit home with me with Bill Oddie, and I think that's why I felt so connected to him. Um, I'll keep reading his books. I'll keep watching whatever footage I can find of him with his birding and his wildlife. And, let's not forget we're an OBE, we're an environmentalist. All the things he did, the awareness he brought forward, it was just fun. It made birding fun. So yeah, this is just my little, a little tribute to Bill. And I'm sure there's others out there that feel the same. How Bill Oddie was so important to him in the interest in birding, or might have been the goodies, and I do remember the goodies, as I said, but it was all the birding stuff that connected me with Bill. I mean, this man had colouring books named after him, with his likeness on in the early 90s. Multiple books, as I've got. I think I've got the majority of them, if I ain't got them all. What a wonderful, wonderful man. Will be sorely missed. So yeah, I just want to come on here and just sort of touch base about that. And Bill, will miss you. Thank you for everything. And it's not like we're friends or anything, but you made an impact in my life, and I'll continue birding. I'll continue writing, because you say I've written books, and I'm writing a book this year, which hopefully we'll see light next year, which is about birding. And it was a massive influence in who I am and the things I've done. I've been involved with Peregrine Project in Wakefield and things like that. And I wouldn't have been if it wouldn't have been for Bill Oddie sort of opening the door to that kind of stuff for me all those years ago. So again, thank you, Bill. You've been missed by people, friends, family, fans. And let's all get out there, live wild, explore wildlife, and just keep Bill with us when we're out there birding. Thank you for tuning into this. There'll be more content coming. I'm new to the YouTube game, so just bear with me. Content's coming, but I just wanted to put this Bill Oddie one out. Thank you. Like, subscribe, and all that business.